What is going on, everyone? We are back. I hope everyone had a safe and happy holiday. Happy New Year. We are in 2022 now, which is just crazy. I just turned 25, which is still mind blowing to me. I feel like I'm an 80-year-old man, but only 25, and we're just keep going, and we're still going with this spotlight series after 30 episodes. Just can't believe that like I'm still going and people want to be on the show, and it means a lot to me that these people take their time out of their lives to come on and just tell their story through music. And to kind of kick off the new year with a new episode, we're going out to LA and we are talking to Rachel AO. Rachel, how are you today? Thanks for coming on.
I'm great. Thank you for having me on.
No, of course. Just kind of like people know, a lot of the artists that I get on here, like for the ones that I don't know, is I reach out on Instagram, Facebook, all those kinds of different things. And I've been a fan of yours since I think I saw you were promoting your new song, obviously, which just came out.
Mhm.
Um, and it's so cool because then I kind of looked at your SoundCloud and your YouTube, and I kind of fell in love with a lot of the covers that you were doing, and just your vocals are really cool and unique. And I'm a big fan already.
Thank you. That's so nice of you to say.
No, of course. But kind of before we get into the questions, obviously I know a little bit about you, but if you don't mind just telling the people kind of a little bit about who you are, what you're doing right now.
Well, I just moved out to LA in July. I'm a singer-songwriter and I'm originally from Michigan. So, cross country move, pretty big, a lot of changes, but I'm getting settled in and kind of finding my feet here. And it feels like I've been here for years because
Yeah.
things just happen so quickly when you're in LA. It's just very fast paced.
Yeah.
So,
No, and that's cool. I mean, for me personally, I don't know if I could make a big leap like that. I mean, my plan is to eventually maybe try to go down to Nashville, but that's still a big leap for
yeah,
me. But like, that's just crazy that like you obviously just kind of went out there and you're pursuing your dream and doing what you love. And kind of at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, honestly.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah,
Um, yeah,
right?
no, exactly. I mean, it is what it is, and like it's just like it means it's just so cool to see people living out their dream like that, because eventually, like I said, if I get enough stuff going, like that's kind of my plan too, is to try and do something like that if it can all pan out.
Mhm.
And then just making those connections and stuff like we're doing now is really a big part of the music business, which a lot of people kind of don't understand. Is it just making friends in this industry is like really, really valuable and like a key thing, because at the end of the day, that could just lead to so many other doors opening. And I
Absolutely.
mean, I'm assuming probably moving out there and you doing that, you've probably realized that by now.
Yeah, I mean, before I even moved out here, I connected with people on Instagram. So when I moved out here, I already had connections like in the industry with different singer-songwriters, photographers, actors. So I mean, it was nice like having those connections and then coming out here and then actually getting to meet people in person.
Right.
Like I met a band in person that I met on Instagram. I went to one of their shows.
Oh, that's
So that
nice.
was really cool. But just like meeting everybody that you meet on social media in person, it's really
Yeah.
cool.
No, it is. It's so cool because like I've met so many different artists, songwriters, and producers on there, and then just kind of eventually meeting them. It's a really cool atmosphere and environment just once you kind of meet them, because then so many other things can happen. And like I said, so many other doors can actually open from that.
Right. And it's really nice to be able to collaborate with other artists too and like surround your circle with other creative people.
Exactly. And I mean, obviously, a lot of my fans know that that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is collabing with a few different artists. And hopefully, within the next couple of months, that I'll have some stuff out that I actually wrote and some stuff that I've actually produced. So I just can't wait for everyone to hear all that. But kind of getting into your story through music, because that's what this is all about today. Everyone knows 30 episodes later, I'm still going with the basic of basics, but how did music start for you? Like, obviously, was it at an early age? Like, and just kind of where did you really get into the music?
It was definitely at an early age. My family is actually pretty artistic. My mom's an artist, so she's a painter and she weaves baskets. And like growing up, we used to go to art fairs, like her art fairs. And my dad is a singer. He also plays the piano. My brother's also very musical. And so we kind of were saturated in the arts from a very young age. And I was lucky enough to be in piano lessons when I was like 6 years old or so. And then when I was around 4, I started dance lessons and then acting. And so I was just, kind of thrown into it at a
Yeah.
very young age. And yeah.
No, that's awesome. I mean, it's so cool because some people come from like musical families and artistic families and stuff like that, but then some people just start from scratch and no one else in their family is musical in any way. But like for me, like obviously, like I mean, songwriting, it's very difficult, but some people think it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, oh, you're just writing words down on a paper, but I don't come from anywhere musical. It's just, I mean, my family has always listened to music and has loved music. But for me, like to kind of just start producing and songwriting, like it's complete different than obviously from how you came up. And it's
Yeah.
just cool to see those different stories on how people come up through music.
Yeah. My mom always tells a story about how, because we lived like on a court or a cul-de-sac, what they call it. Same thing.
Yeah.
And she said that I went out in the middle of the court and I started singing Annie's Tomorrow, like belting it out for all the neighbors. And she's like, "Yep, this girl can sing."
No, it's so funny because I've had a couple other artists say like when they were kids like that, like they would just start belting out like nursery rhymes or just different songs that would be played in the household, and then like their parents were like, "Oh, damn, the kid can sing. Like we gotta kind of help them out a little bit and get them into obviously like music, like playing instruments and stuff like that, like you did, which is cool."
Yeah. And growing up, I played in the band in high school. I was in the marching band. I played clarinet and I was also in choir. I also played saxophone here and there in the jazz band. So yeah, I got to be in a lot of different, musical environments. And I feel blessed that I got to do that. It kind of
Right.
like built into who I am today.
No, exactly, and that's obviously what this is all about, and it's just that's really cool that that's kind of shaped you who you are. And kind of obviously, I just got to ask because you've played all these different instruments, and I mean, I've heard some of your covers and stuff like that, but obviously, like I would say, probably piano is probably like your most like go-to instrument.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because I'm using my clarinet case as a prop for my computer right now. But yeah, piano is definitely my instrument that I use. I always tell people though, I primarily use it for songwriting purposes. I don't really look at myself as like a master pianist, but I mean, I use it for what I can do. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. No, exactly. And I mean, for people that haven't seen your new song that's out now, or any of the covers that you have out on like SoundCloud or YouTube, I mean, I've watched them all, obviously leading up to this interview. And I mean, you are a phenomenal pianist. I
oh,
mean, there's no question about that. And I was kind of talking to you about that before the interview started, but I mean, you have a lot of skills at piano from what I can understand. And
well,
it's really cool.
thanks.
So kind of getting into the second question, is what are some of your like who are some of your inspirations? Like whether it's from your family, like if it's from your mom, your dad and stuff, like did they really kind of push you to get into the music? And then just kind of like who do you listen to like that really inspires you to like kind of create music and stuff like that?
Well, one of the first albums I ever listened to growing up, I was in second grade and I was in my brother's room. Probably not supposed to be in there, but my older brother. And I found Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm like, "Oh, what is this?" And I took it to my room, put it in my little, CD player.
Mhm.
And I loved it. And I was in second grade and I remember like memorizing the entire album. I just loved her voice. I loved like that she was so raw and like open. I was a very like emotional child.
Yeah.
So I just related to it at that young of an age. It's like, I don't know, just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. It was something that really made me want to open up, like, and write things like she wrote.
Right.
Like when I got older, I started writing poetry and I
Mhm.
started writing that poetry very raw, very open.
Yeah.
Like all the wounds were out there in the words, like her stuff. So yeah, she really inspired me to like be in touch with my emotions really. Cause I had a lot of trials growing up. I
Yeah.
grew up in a community where I was one of the only Black kids. So I had a lot of racism thrown at me pretty much all my life. So I had a lot of built up anger.
Right.
And I just like listening to her music. She was so open with her emotions and her feelings. It made me want to do that with my writing.
Mhm.
So Yeah.
No, and that's just really cool because I kind of relate to a lot of like the emotion aspect of what you just talked about, because that's where a lot of my songwriting comes from at the end of the day. I always sound like a broken record, but a lot of people know is back in 2018 when I lost my grandfather unexpectedly from a heart attack. Um, that really just hit me different. And I was in a dark place for a little while just because it was just in an instant he was gone. And I've lived with him my whole entire life. And then a couple weeks later, I wrote a full song about him and I always shout him out. But he's like a brother to me, Nathan Vasquez, for actually recording the song and bringing it to life once I showed him those lyrics. But just at the end of the day, that's where a lot of my songwriting comes from. And that's where a lot of people's songwriting comes from. And I think that's where some of the best songs come from, is when you put those emotions down on paper. And
Mhm.
it's just really cool to see artists let their emotions out and be open, because then I think fans also kind of connect with that as well.
Right. And with Alanis Morissette, you can hear that with her vocals as well. Like she's just completely raw.
Exactly.
And that's what attracted me to her music.
No,
And yeah, I
no,
mean,
and it's cool because I also think like kind of, I mean, I lean towards more singers that kind of have like the rasp in their voice, because I feel like that really displays like a lot of raw emotion as well. And
yeah,
it's cool, but still just anything with like raw emotions and just letting the words fly on the paper into the song is just it hits the heart different for me.
mhm. Another artist that I really grew into loving is Fiona Apple.
Okay.
Um, I love her lyrics. I think that she's a master writer.
Mhm.
She basically takes poetry, these deep, deep, deep poems, and forms them into these songs that are absolutely spectacular. So I think that she's super talented. She's got a different kind of voice as well,
Mhm.
um, very unique, and she's a piano player. And I just always have looked up to her. Like I just think that she's a master songwriter.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome. And that's like a lot of where my inspiration comes from, is just like the great songwriters that are out there. Just because it's cool. And that kind of leads into the third question that I'm going to ask, is because it doesn't matter what genre you're in, if you're in pop, if you're in rap, if you're in country, R&B, just the creative process is so different for so many different artists. And I always showed him out too. He was on an episode, if y'all remember, is Garrett. He kind of said is it's like putting a puzzle together. You have 500 pieces, you have 1,000 pieces. You just have them all laid out on the table and you're just trying to put everything together. But then by the end, when you put that final piece in and you just have it all laid out, it all comes together, from the lyrics to the production and just everything coming together. And then it's something you can frame up and have for the rest of your life, which is just really cool. So kind of my question is what is your creative process like when it comes to writing a song?
Well, I guess I could just talk about how I wrote Perfect.
Mhm.
It was actually during the pandemic. So, a lot of time at home.
Yep.
And what I usually do is I think of the lyrics. I'm really good at writing hooks.
Mhm.
So I usually write a chorus first, or a good hook first, and then I write the verses after. So I just thought of this hook for Perfect, and then the song just kind of like came together eventually, like with the pre-chorus and then the verses, it just kind of flowed together. I write everything on my phone in my notes, like
Yep, I'm the same way.
every end too. Like I even put the MP3s like in the notes at the bottom. I'll put
Mhm.
notes for the producer at the bottom. Like I just like that's basically where everything is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I write out the lyrics and then I think about how I want the melody to sound. And then in my head, I can kind of hear the chords I want, and I kind of break the chords up in my head, like, okay, that fits with that melody. So then I just get on the keyboard and like just plunk it out and figure out the chords for the entire song. I usually just use my phone to record a demo real quick.
Mhm. Oh,
And, you know, there it is. There it was.
no, exactly. And it's cool that you said that, because I don't think a lot of artists had said kind of what you just said, is how you start, like that you're good at writing hooks. And that's like
Mhm.
kind of where you started and then you went to the verses, because it's funny because that's exactly how I write.
Yeah.
And when I wrote my first song that's out on Spotify, again, shout out to Alexa Mashka because she was on that. And once I sent her the lyrics and we kind of played with that song's like strictly piano and everything too, is when we got everything together. Is I told her when I wrote that originally, just I wrote the chorus first, and then I kind of went back afterwards and started building around that because it was just that's the way I started developing my songwriting from looking at other artists and stuff like that. So it's cool that you said that because that's exactly how my songwriting comes too.
Nice. Somebody actually told me the other day that John Legend,
Mhm.
he will write a chorus and then he'll take that chorus and make it a verse. So then he can write
Oh
a
wow,
better chorus.
That's a good idea. I
Yeah.
might have to start doing something like
I know
that.
that's what I said. I'm like,
That
oh,
yeah, like wait a second, hold on. Lights flickering in the head now. Like that makes oh wow. No, that's like mind blowing now.
yeah.
I have to do my research on that now. Like I'm just baffled by that, but it's always so cool to see the way different people write. I mean, just obviously from the way you write, then talking about John Legend, and then it's also just kind of crazy how some people even start from like the melody and then they add the words to that as well, which is just kind of crazy.
I'm sorry. It was not John Legend. It was
Oh,
John Legend of Beatles.
oh, okay, okay.
We'll
little
start,
auto, little
but
autocorrect.
John Lennon,
It's John Lennon.
son of the Beatles. That's how he
Oh.
was. Sure get that straight. Not John Legend. John Lennon.
Lennon. We are good there. Um, so kind of getting into the fourth question, it's always my favorite question. And I always tell artists before that it's one of the hardest questions that I ask. And I think that's why it's my favorite question. Because obviously with the pandemic, always hate bringing that up, but it's just so many artists have come out and have like started promoting themselves more, and there's hundreds of thousands of artists. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're coming from country, if you're coming from pop or rap, like there's hundreds of new upcoming artists all the time in all these genres. So kind of at the end of the day is what I'm going to ask is like what makes you you? So like what makes Rachel AO Rachel AO?
I think it's just like my vocals. Like sometimes I don't even, because I have so many influences that I grew up with, not only the ones that I mentioned, but I have other ones too that probably would surprise a lot of people. Like I also used to listen to a lot of punk rock and ska and pop, as in Christina Aguilera, and just a whole the Beatles, like a whole mix of different genres.
Mhm.
And I think that you like when you listen to my music, it's kind of like, what am I listening to? Like, what genre is this? I don't know. So I don't know. I don't like to place myself in a box,
Right.
but and like, say I'm this kind of singer.
Mhm.
But I think that in my vocals, you can hear like different little like a different odes to my influences.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's what makes me different. I don't know. This is a hard question. I'm sweating.
No,
Um,
it's all good. And like I said, I mean, I told you before the interview started anyway, like some people are still trying to create their craft and don't know exactly who they are yet because everyone is still developing. And I mean, it's totally fine. It's just some people know who they are and some people still need the time to develop that. And I mean, I already think that you're an amazing, talented artist, and obviously that's why I have you on the show. And there's definitely a lot of big things coming from you. And I think you just a little more time, a couple more songs coming out. And I think you can really be something big, which is just super cool.
Thanks. Thank
No,
you.
of
A lot of
course.
work. It's a lot of work being an independent artist and like
Exactly.
having to do all this stuff by yourself,
Right.
essentially. Thankfully, I have management now that I'm in LA,
Mhm.
and I have some help. But being an independent artist is a lot of work. It's a lot
Exactly.
of time, it's a lot of energy, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
No, it's a lot of hard work, time, and dedication. And some people just don't realize that because it takes, I mean, you could have a song written, but it might not be fully produced and out for another 4 years from now.
Right.
And a lot of people just don't understand that because there's a lot of money that goes into the actual studio time and the actual production of the whole song.
Right. And even for Perfect, I mean, I wrote it back in February, and here we are, almost back to February.
Right.
I mean, we are in February. So it's been, a year that it's been a journey with this song. So
no, exactly. And that's just so cool. And obviously, I can't wait to hear this at the end of this interview. But before we get to that, I just kind of have the final question, which is like, what are your goals as an artist? Like, where do you kind of want to go with your music? Obviously, the song just came out perfect. It's your first single you've kind of released everywhere. And just what else can we expect from you down the road?
So right now I'm actually in the works of creating a band.
Okay.
Um, I'm in the audition process right now, just auditioning different musicians, and I've had like different musicians come in and like do different combos.
Mhm.
And we've gone through the songs that I'm going to be releasing after, like now that I have Perfect as a single. Perfect is also going to be on the EP that I'm releasing.
Okay.
So there's going to be 2 more songs, and as a band, like we've gone through, like as a band, like a potential band,
Mhm.
we've gone through those songs and kind of like, practice through them. And I'm just trying to solidify, get the band members that I want and solidify that
Yeah.
so that we can go out and start performing and I can start promoting the EP live.
Mhm.
And also writing other songs on the way, like with the band as well,
Yeah.
and performing those as well and making a set list. So
No, that's awesome. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for all that to happen. And like I said, I'm definitely a big fan of yours now with Perfect being out and all the covers that you've had. Like 100% a fan. I'll be here till the end of the road with you. Um, and I'm just excited for all the things that you have in store.
yeah, the EP that's going to be coming out hopefully this month. We'll see. We never know, do we? um, it's going to be called Closure. And so there's going to be Perfect on there, and then there's 2 other tracks that are going to be on there. So a total of 3 songs.
Mhm.
And it's kind of, I like to say that it's a healing journey. It's a collection of love songs.
Yes.
Perfect is obviously a song it's pretty positive.
Mhm.
The other song, not so much. And then I have another song that's like really positive. So it's kind of like, a roller coaster of emotions,
Right.
and I hope that everyone can, relate to it wherever they have been in life, in
Mhm.
a relationship or whatever, in love.
Yeah.
So
No, and that's awesome, honestly. So kind of getting into the best part of the interview, is listening to your song Perfect. Kind of before I play a little bit of it for everyone, kind of just like how did this whole song kind of come about? Like what's kind of like the real whole story behind this? And just give us like kind of a little info before we play
wow, okay.
it.
Well, I wrote it about a relationship that I was in where it was very back and forth. Like, I don't know if you are familiar with a twin flame relationship. It's basically you meet somebody, they're your mirror. They show you what you need to improve on yourself, and you show them. So it can get kind of toxic sometimes in the relationship, and you go separate ways, and then you come back together. But if you're not healed, you can't stay together. So you go separate ways again.
Mhm.
So this song is basically about that experience, this back and forth kind of relationship. But at the end of the day, we both realize that we're both healing. We're not perfect. And we both realize, we're perfect for each other at the end of the day, because we help each other become better people at the end of the
Right.
day.
Right. No, and that's awesome. And like I said, I listened to this earlier today when you sent it over before the interview, and I definitely it's a really cool song. I can't wait for people to actually hear this and just listen to it because I think you killed it on this one.
Thanks. And the video is coming out as well.
Oh,
Um,
okay, perfect. We got a
yeah,
video coming out and everything.
yeah, we filmed
Awesome.
the video a couple months ago, and yeah, that should be coming out as well. So
Awesome. So kind of without further ado, let's take a little sneak peek at Perfect.
got a love that is bigger sometimes we fight because it can be too much. Separation gets hard. We are two flames apart. It is heavy on our hearts. I just wanna hold you. No, I don't wanna lose you. No, I'm not perfect, and neither are you. And I know we've got a lot to do. Go through always set us free. We've gotta fight for what we got. It's just you and me. I'm not perfect, but I know that you're perfect for me. Perfect for me.
So that's a little bit of perfect. And I mean, I honestly like I've listened to all kinds of different songs. Like, I mean, we've had 30 artists on this spotlight series. And I mean, very rarely do I get chills from songs. It takes a lot to get the chills, but no, and like I honestly mean this out of all honesty. Like, it's just the vocals on that are amazing. Like obviously you played the piano on that. Like, it's just it, everything about it is a 10 out of 10 for me, and like nothing would ever change about that. And that's just an awesome piece of work right there, and you killed it.
I have to give credit to the producer. His name is Kofi Eje,
Mhm.
and he is part of We Dope Productions. He's actually my cousin,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, and I gave him the song, and like we talked about it in the studio, and I just kind of gave him like ideas, and then he sent me the first draft, and I cried because he totally just got me. He
Right.
understood my vision. He got it. The instrumentation that he added, the strings, the layers. I'm like, you get me.
No, exactly. No, and I mean, the big part of it for me is, I mean, obviously the words behind it, but once just kind of everything kicks in the chorus, like that's like when it really like sinks in and hits me, and like I feel everything that you wrote in there. And
Oh,
it makes so much sense, and like I said, I'm such a fan of that, and people need to go listen to that.
oh, thank you.
Of course. Obviously just came out a couple days ago, so it's out everywhere, like on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever we can find it, right?
Mhm. If you go to my website, www.rachelao.com, you can find all of the information for the track on there, and all of my socials are on there as well.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think I checked that out earlier. So for anyone that wants to do that, just go over there. You can explore whatever you want with Rachel. I know she has her SoundCloud on there, her YouTube. Obviously, this is on there, so you can get the Spotify and Apple Music links. And honestly, people, just go give her a follow, go check her out, because she has a lot of big things coming. And obviously, with Perfect right there, this is just that's part of it right there. It's just awesome, awesome work.
Thank you so much.
No,
Thank
of
you.
course. That kind of concludes everything. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to come on and do this today. I really, really means a lot to me.
Well, thank you for having me. This means a lot to me to be able to share my music with another creative person.
No,
Awesome.
and I appreciate that, and it's so cool because, like I said, just to kind of wrap things up, is just making those connections in the music business is really a big thing, and that's kind of what I'm all about. If I can go out of my way to help some other artists promote their song and just promote themselves, like that's at the end of the day, that's what I want to do. I want to help them, and I'm always about giving back and stuff like that. So it just means a lot when these artists are willing to come on here and do this, to just take time out of their day and do it. So kind of without further ado, that's it. Y'all go check out her song Perfect. That's Rachel AO. And the song is Perfect. And obviously you guys know the drill. Every Sunday I have a new episode coming out. Whole month of February we'll have all different artists for the whole month. And I will see y'all next week. And thanks for tuning in.